Hello everyone, Travis here, and welcome back to another Europe Park episode here on SimFox. In today's episode, I will be working over in the Netherlands section where I left off last time. And today we're going to basically add some more buildings to the area, and that's about it. Because the majority of this area, as far as rides, we have a flat ride or two maybe, and then the small roller coaster over here to the right. And it's just a small section of the park, so well, actually it's a pretty decent size, but just those 2 or 3 rides are more than adequate. So we've just got to work on finishing off the area with buildings and foliage and that sort of thing, and that's what we do today. So yeah. Last time some of you had mentioned Dutch gables and that kind of thing, and I think that's an amazing idea, you know, but there are some limitations in that this workbench started out very much no custom scenery, and so we've added some pieces, and that has allowed us to be a little bit more creative with things, like especially like detailing these buildings and stuff. That said, the Europe pack does have some roofs that have some gables built into them, so I'm just going to use those, and hopefully that will suffice, all things considered. I think it turns out pretty nice in the end. I don't put the gables in until a little bit later on the other side of the canal, but you'll see what I mean when we get there. You may notice, hopefully, that the time-lapse is a little bit slower than usual. I got some comments on my last Megapark episode, which was, what, like a few days ago, that that maybe I should slow things down. I even got like a request for like real-time playing and stuff, like Stu does. I don't know if you know Stu, but he's another YouTuber that has a pretty decent channel, but he does a lot of like completing scenarios and that kind of stuff on his channel, but he does a lot of like I don't think he does the time lapses as much. He does more of the like real-time let's play sort of videos. And while I appreciate the request and feedback on that, I just don't think that that type of video is going to work for my style of Roller Coaster Tycoon gameplay. I am thinking of a more real-time build and reveal sort of concept for Planet Coaster in the future, but Roller Coaster Tycoon not so much. But what I did as sort of a compromise is I slowed down the footage. Well, I mean, I sped it up, but I didn't speed it up as much as I usually do. For example, I normally speed it up 5 or 6 times, depending on the footage, and this is only about 2.5. I didn't know, it's like 2.7 times sped up. So hopefully that'll allow you guys to see a little bit more of the build process. If it's too slow for you, you know, I totally understand. I prefer a little bit speedier time-lapse myself, and I think most people do prefer the time-lapses over real-time play. But that said, you can always just speed up the video through YouTube, but I think if you go too fast, my voice is going to sound like a chipmunk, which actually might be fun, but also maybe a little bit awkward as well. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try it now that I've mentioned it when I'm watching this back later and see what I sound like. For these first 2 buildings, they're actually mirror image of each other, and I actually kind of really like the way they look in comparison to the buildings that are already there. Very similar in style. I carried over a lot of you know, what was already there stylistically, but I did change things up ever so slightly so that you know, it's not too repetitive. When I do the buildings on the other side of the canal, the ones that I experiment a little bit with the gables and stuff, the style changes a little bit on those, and I think the reason for that is because they're there's a walkway in front of them against the canal. I didn't want those to be too tall, so that you would essentially lose the path behind it. So they're a little bit lower profile. They still fit that same theme, or that same sort of scheme that I've been going with in this area. And I do think that the buildings end up pretty cohesive in the end. I'm sort of the mindset that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's why a lot of the elements seem to repeat a little bit. But, you know, it's a good style, and so I think for the most part that is okay. You probably notice a difference in the way that I sound. I'm using a different microphone. I'm actually using a better microphone than I normally do, because I usually use the one that's built into my headset. But that one's been giving me issues lately, so I decided to go back to my Samsung Go mic, which is, you know, actually a pretty decent mic. The problem I have with that one, and you probably notice, is it's a little bit echoey. I think, like, my entire house has vaulted ceilings, and so no matter where I record and how I record with that microphone, you get that echoey sort of feel. So I need, you know, some sound diffusers and that kind of thing eventually. But I'm waiting to do any of that sort of stuff because I am moving on to grad school in January. I took some graduate classes this semester in a program that I wasn't really happy with, so I'm actually switching programs to an MFA in creative writing in New England, so that will be a new adventure for me. But to prepare for that, in early January, when I get back from my residency over there, I will be like updating my entire setup in my office, my home office, so I don't want to buy sound diffusers and that sort of thing and get everything set up only to just like tear it out and redo it. Also, another thing you probably notice with this microphone is it's a lot more sensitive, so you can probably hear stuff in the background. Like right now, the water is running in the sink in my bathroom because somebody is in there with the water on. I don't know if you can hear that, but I know for sure you can definitely hear my dog Callie moving in the background behind me. You know, she has these beanbag chairs that she lays in while I'm in here doing my thing, and when she moves around in them, they make this very kind of plasticky movement sort of sound, which I know for sure you guys have heard because I've already heard it a couple of times when I've played back the audio to move on to the next bit. So anyway, please bear with me for the time being until I get, you know, things, you know, exactly set up the way that they are going to be, and so that way I can properly diffuse the sound and that sort of thing in the future. Yeah. One thing I did forget to mention earlier when I was talking about the slower time lapse, you might not even notice, to be honest. Like, I'm watching it back and it doesn't feel too slow for me, but one sort of side effect of that is we have like a 20-minute video where we would normally have like a 12-minute video or something. So personally, I think that 20 minutes is just a little bit too long for my taste when it comes to RCT2 videos. But let me know in the comments below what you think of that. You know, if the vast majority of you prefer a little bit faster than this, then we'll go back to that. But, you know, we'll see what you guys have to say about that. And those of you who don't really like the time lapses and prefer the, like, you know, real-time sort of gameplay, is this, like, better? Does it not matter because it's still a time lapse? Let me know in the comments below if you even notice a difference and what you think about that difference. And so yeah. The only thing that I don't actually get done in this area is this roller coaster. I would like to theme it in some way. It's kind of tucked away behind these smaller buildings, which you'll see I put a pretty nice facade on these buildings to make them seem like full-scale buildings, but they block the coaster from the path just enough, you know, that this would seem like the coaster is maybe in a building of its own, if you will. And you would look over the tops of the buildings maybe from the furthest extreme and be able to see maybe the top of the lift, but that's about it. So the reason I didn't theme the coaster is because I'm wanting name suggestions for it. Actually, that's a lie. That's the excuse I'm giving for like not theming it, but not that I don't want names for it. I was going to request that either way, but I just got lazy at the end and didn't theme it. But what I'm hoping is that if you guys give name suggestions and I find one that's really awesome and amazing and cool, you know, maybe even in Dutch, you know, but whatever's clever, then I can maybe theme it in a way that corresponds with that name. But to give you kind of an idea of what I was planning to do with this coaster as far as theming, I wanted to have like a sort of castle maybe structure built into the cliff face. You know, something reminiscent of, you know, some of the nicer, older looking buildings from Efteling, however you say that park in the Netherlands. Because, of course, that park has some really beautiful architecture and, you know, scenery theming is sort of their thing. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that to fit with the rest of the area. So we'll see how that goes when I start messing around with it. And some of that may be done off camera because I honestly have no idea where I'm going with that. But like I said, if you give a name suggestion that, you know, could maybe help me out with how to theme it, you know, that would be great. But yeah, so the middle part of the coaster where that big helix is and everything is going to be, and the part along the water is going to be not in a building, but I think the top part of the lift and maybe even that sort of helix that comes out of the side of the cliff would be inside of whatever building or structure I build into the cliff face. Let me know what you think of that, or if you have a better idea for that. Or, you know, whatever's clever. I appreciate any feedback and suggestions that you guys have on that. Another comment I got recently is about my voice. You know, not the way that it sounds, but the way that I guess am a little bit monotone in my speaking. You know, I could be a little bit more animated if you want me to. I say that as like the most relaxing, chill music is in the background. But anyway, I can be a little bit more animated. Like if you want me to be like, oh, what's up guys? Hey, yo, check out this great, awesome, amazing. Anyway, it's already annoying me. And that was just like 5 seconds of it. That's not how I talk. Like my voice is very sarcastic sounding. I get accused sometimes of being disinterested. That's just, you know, how my voice comes across. But I can try to work on it. If you guys like have a hard time following along because I'm here like putting you to sleep, let me know. I mean, unless you use my videos as like a sleeping aid, that's, you know, then cool, you know, do you. But I can definitely work to improve upon that if need be. I can't really give an example of what it could be like, but you know, maybe just like something like where let's see, like I don't know, I go up in inflection and I talk a little bit lower, and then I, you know, like or like a friend of mine is a radio DJ, so maybe I could do something like that, like, everybody welcome to WEBC, the greatest blah blah blah, or welcome to the SimFox channel, the greatest channel on YouTube, or something to that effect. I don't know if you agree that this is the greatest channel on YouTube. I think it is, personally, but you know, I'm maybe a little biased, who knows. So yeah, one thing I've noticed though, I haven't really talked about what's been going on the screen for a while. so the facade, as you can tell, is coming together of these buildings. And, you know, I think given sort of the restrictions that I have with the scenery available and all that, I think it turns out pretty well in the end. The front side of those buildings are very nice. I still need to figure out what to do with the back, if anything, because, you know, depending on how we theme the coaster and all that, it might not need to be done up, because it could, you know, it might be full of trees, or that building that I talked about in the cliff face, or something to that effect. So, yeah, so maybe I won't need to do anything with the back, but the back does look incredibly plain at the moment. And here in a little bit, you see I do some foliage. I think I already did some a few minutes ago, but I do more at the end, I believe. And I do it sort of in that spammy kind of way, where I just take the bushes or the trees and, you know, randomly place them in the area all over the place. There's a much better way to do scenery than that. I mean, to do foliage than that. But of course, the better way is to, you know, go kind of like small section by small section and be very intentional and deliberate, like with each placement of each plant, and you know, including rocks and different layers and all that stuff, which, you know, I try to do. But to be honest, we're sort of wanting to finish this this park and move on from it. It's been a great project. You know, I think you can clearly see from the beginning to where we are right now how much all of us have improved. If you're not familiar with this series, I guess I forgot to mention it in the beginning, which is kind of my bad, but this is a four-way collaboration between myself and Charjallz and Henk and Etzeren. Henk and Etzeren have been kind of away from the project for a while, so it's been mostly just back and forth between Charjallz and myself. But of course, admittedly, Charjallz has done the most work of anyone. Collaborations are fun. It's a great way to, you know, get to know people and to improve your skills, and, you know, you get to see firsthand what people are working on and how they you know, operate as builders and as players. But on the flip side, doing collaborations can be kind of like doing group work in school. You know, especially something this chill and casual, there are certain things in life that are going to take priority over it, and you know, and we all get busy from time to time. But not only that, you know, like, if you're just not feeling motivated about the project, then you kind of don't want to be involved with it for the time being. And I think that's kind of what happened with Henk and Etzeren, is they just lost interest in the project, and you know, on top of that, they're busy as well. So you know, that's why Charjallz and I have been trying to finish it up and move on from it. The work that they've done in the park is very obvious, very apparent still. You know, they both did really large areas when they did their couple of episodes. So, you know, it's still very much that four-way collaboration. And all of their channels are in the description below. I will also try to remember to link Stu's channel as well. I mentioned Stu earlier in the video. He's the one that does sort of the Let's Play style of gameplay in this game. And yeah, so some of you may be interested in checking out his content as well. Really cool, interesting guy. So, but yeah, that brings us to the end of the video now. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of how this area is turning out. If you have any suggestions and those kinds of things, I will try to incorporate them, of course, given time constraints and what have you. And give this video a thumbs up if you like what you see, subscribe if you haven't already, and with that said, you all have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, etc., wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all next time.